Hey there, this is Dr. Gary Pepper again, and it's our podcast, Dr. Pepper Really. And we have a very interesting topic for you today. The other day I was reading an article about an association between people using Ozempic for weight loss and hair loss. And it occurred to me that this is a prime area for thoughts about could it be a hormone-related issue, not just a direct effect of the medication. Weight loss is a prime trigger for the endocrine system, which evolved to protect us under all sorts of situations that we, as a species, encountered prior to the advent of all our modern technology and agriculture. Starvation was the prime reason people lost weight for the first few 100,000 years of our species. And in order to survive, the endocrine system adapted by making important changes to the hormones in our body so that we could persevere and our species could go on. For those of you who are interested in weight loss for, general health reasons or cosmetic reasons, it's important to remember that what you're doing is also triggering some very primitive systems within our body which are designed to prevent just that. And it can be like a domino effect where you trigger it with a medication or unexpected and rapid weight loss, and that will cause some changes in your hormone system, which can affect other organs and systems in your body, which subsequently could go on to affect other things in your body. It's the domino effect. And for those of you who have lost weight rapidly, you know that not only starvation and that constant hunger can be a major drawback, but changes in your hair, skin, and nails are often one of the first things to show up, even before you've lost a significant amount of weight. So let's dive into it and see what we can find. The first systems to be impacted by weight loss is the estrogen system. Now, even if you're postmenopausal, it's been shown that in women and also men, that weight loss is associated with a drop in estrogen levels as well as testosterone levels, which we'll talk about in a minute. But both men and women have estrogen for their whole lives, more so during the reproductive age in women, of course. But estrogen is a vital hormone in terms of protecting the hair, skin, and nails, or let's say influencing the hair, skin, and nails. And for those of you who have gone through menopause, you know that there is frequently some hair loss, particularly from the scalp. The skin seems to be more dry and loses some of its elasticity and radiance. And that these changes, like the shedding of foliage that occurs when the weather gets cold. And this is a hormonal effect influencing those particular aspects of our body function. Now, what about testosterone? Well, that's recognized as being the hormone that gives men increased muscle mass and muscle strength, but in both sexes can also change the general level of your, let's call it motivation, and can affect your mood. Some people who abuse testosterone can find that their aggressiveness has increased, but when there's not enough testosterone, the aggressiveness, or what some people would refer to as motivation, could decline. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Again, to sort of repeat the idea that starvation or nutrient deficiency, scarcity of food causes weight loss, is a key trigger to the crisis mode. We started off talking about the reproductive hormones, estrogen and testosterone. Think about it. During times of famine, what could be worse that someone should get pregnant? So what nature has equipped us with is a break that puts a halt to the hormones that drive the reproductive motivation and the reproductive function. In fact, in modern day, people who lose weight as part of an athletic endeavor, or ballerinas or other dancers who are training very, very hard over long periods of time, they may lose their menstrual cycle, and it has a long name. It's called hypothalamic amenorrhea, but it is not that uncommon. So in its wisdom, nature has equipped a reproductive system to shut down during times of food shortage. But there's a lot of other hormones that are triggered, and we'll be talking about those in a minute. So one of those other hormones is something known as cortisol, which comes from the adrenal gland. Every so often, a new product, over-the-counter product, comes on the market claiming to block the cortisol effect, and with the idea that this might cause weight loss if your cortisol levels are reduced. But this is a gross exaggeration of the ability of any over-the-counter product to affect it. But in reality, cortisol is a stress hormone released by the adrenal glands, and the cortisol is a potent medication, or potent hormone, I should say, that controls a wide variety of manufacturing functions in our body within the realm of protein. Protein is important for the hair, skin, and nails, and if there's a deficiency of protein, whether it's because of a hormone effect or because of nutrient effect, this will have an impact on the hair, skin, and nails. But cortisol is a fight or flight hormone, preparing your body for vigorous physical activities that might accompany a famine. Back in the day, people would have to migrate to another source of food, or they would have to redouble their efforts in the field, or any of those kinds of things. Hunting, which at one point in evolution was a life-endangering kind of activity. So the cortisol levels will affect the cardiovascular system. They can affect the central nervous system. And one of the things which is somewhat undesirable from a dieter's point of view is that the adrenal hormone can increase appetite, again, to enhance storage of fuel for the stressful period of time. But other things, the side effects, could be thinning of the skin and the thinning of the lining of the stomach, because prolonged stress can be associated with things like, well, we call it heartburn, but also, even worse yet, formation of ulcers. It can cause fluid retention. In the thinning of the skin, you could develop what is called striae, which are actually prominent stress marks, usually found on the abdomen. Finally, again, a long-term effect is a inhibition of the ability to fight off infection, viruses and bacteria. That's our immune function can deteriorate. There are artificial forms of cortisol which are used therapeutically. You may have heard of prednisone, and the side effects of taking prednisone over long periods of time include all of those things that I just mentioned, including the reduction in immunity. What about thyroid? We know there's a general association of the thyroid with what we call the metabolic rate, or that's the rate at which our body burns calories. And for somebody interested in weight loss, that would be quite important, because as your metabolic rate decreases, you're burning less calories. Unfortunately, one of the adaptations for rapid weight loss is a drop in the most important of the thyroid hormones, known as T3. The chemical name is called liothyronine. Now, T3 controls, in good part, the rate at which our body functions, including a big contribution to the metabolic rate. So we certainly don't want our thyroid hormone levels decreasing, but even if you skip calories for 1 or 2 days, your T3 level will decline. If you're sick and can't eat, your T3 levels will go down. So it's an extremely sensitive system in the body. In the dieting mode and begin to lose weight, the body is going to fight us back, and our metabolic rate will decline. That will impede the rate at which your body burns calories, which is the way that we lose weight. So could you take thyroid hormone to prevent this? Well, that's probably a very bad idea, because when your body's trying to slow down, it is counter to your body's protective effects to push it harder by taking something like T3. Even if it gave you a temporary boost, you'd be paying for it down the road. These are all things that you need to run by your own personal physician, because everybody's different, and there's no easy cookbook solution in general. And so please, if you're involved with taking anything, even over-the-counter products for weight loss, please check with your personal physician first. Now, there's something going on, and that's changes in your pituitary gland. The pituitary gland sits at the base of the brain, and nickname of the master gland, because even though it's a tiny pea-sized little gland, it makes a whole spectrum of hormones that interact with the other organs, the other endocrine organs in your body, like the thyroid, like the adrenal. In my mind, it's kind of like a thermostat that's reading the temperature in the room and adjusting the air conditioning or the heat or whatever to be more or less active. So in the same way, the pituitary is signaling through the use of these hormones that travel in our blood throughout the whole body to either be more or less active. And that, for example, is with the adrenal gland. The trigger for its increased activity during stress is a pituitary hormone called ACTH, which is released rapidly when there is a stressful situation. The thyroid is controlled by a pituitary hormone called TSH, and the reproductive glands are controlled by two hormones called LH and FSH. So back to the reproductive system. During rapid weight loss, as I mentioned, nature has put the brakes on reproductive function. And those of you who have been on diets or contemplating being on a diet, it's good to remember that the hormone system that's responsible for estrogen and testosterone is now on pause. So if you know what is going on in your own body and why, it may be easier to understand why your moodiness, your energy, your sex drive is all changing. Now, the bone is just like your hair, skin, and nails, very dependent on nutrients. And we all probably know calcium is important, magnesium is important. And without these nutrients, the calcium, let's say, stored in your bone may start to dissolve and leak out because it plays other important roles in your body, and the body may call upon the reserves that are in the bone, and the result could be thinning of the bone, and that is called osteoporosis. So going back to our marathon runner, young woman, for example, not only has her menstrual cycle been cut off, but these types of high demand athletes may be more prone to breaking bones, call them stress fractures, but could also be due, at least in part, to loss of the calcium, which makes the bone strong. Now, I also mentioned mood fluctuations. Well, we're used to feeling a certain amount of energy and enthusiasm and motivation, but if that gets diminished during this starvation period, it can also lead to moodiness. I should mention also that high levels of cortisol are known to affect mood and can induce depression, but can also induce mania. So for those people who need prednisone or other potent medications that are like cortisol, even without this issue of starvation, they are additionally prone to mood changes. So hearing all that, what might seem like bad news associated with the rapid loss of weight and the cut down in nutrition, how do we maintain balance? Well, a simple thing, and simple things are often considered to be trivial when it comes to our health care, but in this case, simply slowing the rate of weight loss, slowing the degree of calorie deprivation will give your body a chance to adapt in a more gradual way. Weight loss itself does not have to be a crisis necessarily if done properly. And as I was alluding to, just simply reducing your goal is one beneficial thing you could do. Most experts recommend 1 to 2 pounds per week. And we're all in a hurry. We have busy lives. We want to get to our goals quickly. But if it took, let's say, 2 pounds a week and you wanted to lose 40 pounds, well, 20 weeks, that doesn't seem like an unusually long period of time or undesirable amount of time. If it means that your moods will be better and your body will function better, you'll have more energy. Because you are restricting nutrients, a multivitamin supplement of your choice, and something that you might discuss with your physician would be a good idea. I personally think that a multivite with minerals would be particularly good because minerals that are present in our body and what are known as trace amounts are also vitally important, not just your A, B, C, D kinds of vitamins, but magnesium, zinc, copper, etc. Are minerals that our body requires. What about sleep? Sleep is a toughie because even under the best conditions, we may find we go through periods of insomnia or waking up early. But this does have a big impact on our overall energy, mood, and ability to withstand the rigors of weight loss. So whatever you can do in terms of maintaining a good and routine schedule is very important. That wind down period of an hour or so before bedtime, avoiding stressful conversations, things like that, closer to bedtime, all these little tweaks that can be done to maintain your sleep cycle. By the way, the hormones have a very distinct daily cycle. It's called the circadian rhythm. That means that during certain times of the day, some of your hormones levels will be high, and at other times of the day would be low. Cortisol, in particular, the adrenal hormone, is highest first thing in the morning and gradually decreases so that around bedtime, levels can be close to zero. And during stress, you may lose that circadian rhythm, which may explain part of the negative impact of excess cortisol. Other stress hormones include something known as growth hormone, and even in a fully grown adult, we have dependency on growth hormone to help with maintaining our bodily tissues, including the hair, skin, and nails. What about exercise? Whenever I bring that up, I expect to hear groaning and, that look, that faraway look. Are you kidding me? Kind of thing. But, this individual here that we're seeing doing her routine workout, you might emulate her, getting up on the ceiling and doing a split. I think, no, I'm actually kidding. That's a joke. 15 minutes of walking. I would say that if you get clearance from your healthcare provider, if you don't have disabilities that might impair you, talking about is very small amounts of exercise that can be increased gradually over time, which for most people who haven't been exercising is essential to avoid injury and excess pain. If you get clearance from your healthcare provider, start with 15 minutes a day of walking. You'll hardly notice it. Basically 7 minutes walking in one direction and 7 minutes coming back. Every other day for a couple of weeks, let your body muscles get adjusted. And it takes that long for your muscles to get used to a new routine and for you to build up a little stamina and muscle tone. And then you could start adding to that exercise routine as tolerated. And before you know it, you're doing a fair amount of exercise, and it's not hurtful, it's not painful, it doesn't leave you feeling sore and exhausted. And as your muscle tone increases, your metabolic rate can increase, and you can actually benefit by an increased rate at which your body is functioning, even when you're not actually doing the exercise. So when you go to the gym, those of you who do a fairly rigorous workout, and you look at the calorie count and, oh my God, that was only 150 calories. Don't forget that the improvement in your muscle tone will carry over for a good part of the day as in terms of your metabolic rate. So you'll overall be losing a fair amount of calories even when you're not exercising. So I appreciate you watching till the end. And if you have any comments, suggestions, we'd love to hear from you, both here on the video or at my website, metabolism.com. Can access the website for free. And there are whole loads of articles and blogs on all the topics that we're covering today, as well as other areas that you might find of interest. If you could put a like and even better share any of our media, that will help this very small channel to grow. So thanks again, and check in soon for the next update.